What's going on everyone, my name is Aaron aka The Anxious Investor, and today's video is going to run through the best ways that you can invest £50,000 into property. So if you've been a subscriber for some time and you managed to get past my poorly created thumbnails, then you would have likely seen how to invest with £10,000. And if you're new to the channel, then hopefully you saw the one I did last week on how to invest £20,000. Now, I could be a little sneaky here and repeat some of the same things that I basically said in both those videos, but that would be unfair for the people who have actually watched both of them and pretty boring for myself to run through. So for that reason, I'm going to try and mix things up a little bit. Plus, we've got £50,000 to play around with. So please do check those out if you're new to the channel or you haven't looked at them. And obviously applying common sense, everything I'm mentioning those can obviously be done much easier and more efficiently with £50,000. So there will be no talks about rent to rent or assisted sales or deal sourcing or lease options in this particular video, but I will run through 4 strategies that you can start with £50,000 ready to go. Oh wait, and just before we begin, if you do stick around to the end, I am going to share a clever little trick for you based on the 4 strategies that I think may be a game changer potentially for some of you watching this. So make sure you stick around for that. So let's get started with buy to lets. Now previously on the 20k video, I mentioned properties under £65,000, taking into consideration all of the fees that come along with buying a house. But here I'm going to do things a little bit differently. And also I just totally forgot to ask you all to smash the hell out of that like button. So if you wouldn't mind, then please just take a moment to annihilate that little grey thumb. Anyways, what I would do with £50,000 for buy to lets is I'd buy 2 of them. I would look for properties around the £80,000 mark, requiring £20,000 deposit each, leaving you around £10,000 for stamp, legals, brokers and insurance to get yourself kick-started. Now obviously and ideally, you want a ready to go buy to let. So not houses that need a lot of work. Now the 80k property that I bought a while ago, which I mentioned on the previous video, rents for 600, which let's be honest, is a pretty incredible deal. And if I had known this, I literally would have tried to buy the road back then. And now the house prices are pretty expensive. But even if you can't get properties to rent for such an amount, let's just say maybe 550 or 525. An interest-only mortgage for this will be roughly around £150 per calendar month. But do me a favour, please do check the rates as they will differ depending on the length of your mortgage and also if you opt to buy in a limited company. Nonetheless, if we assume rates of let's just say 3% and even go really conservative on the rent of 525, we will end up with the following costs. The rental income for both, let's say 525, would give us a total of £1,050. The mortgage payments out would be £300. Insurance, voids, maintenance would be around £75 each, so let's just say £150. So the total in is £1,050 and the total out is £450, giving you a net of £600 per calendar month. Now even if you decided I don't want to be a landlord, well, you're going to have to be a landlord, but maybe you don't want to be a landlord that manages your own properties and you want an agent, you could still probably walk away. You could still probably walk away with £500 net. Now I know, and you know, the bank isn't giving you anything like £500 per month, nor is it helping your money grow and appreciate like a property would. So this is a bit of a no-brainer. Number 2, HMOs. Now as we move into HMOs and we use the power of leverage, something I definitely discussed in a lot more detail over here, you could potentially buy up to around £200,000. Now HMOs already operating can be purchased for this price. And I actually got one a lot cheaper once upon a time, but you could definitely get one for around £200,000. And also, although it might take a little bit more knowledge and skill set, you could actually bridge one, purchase it, convert it, and then refinance your money out. So it's definitely something that you can do with £50,000. However, the only issue with the more complex one is you're going to need to have enough margin in the figures, a contingency, because if you don't and you're asked to either pay higher rates on your bridge or more to cover the renovation yourself, you may just fall short with £50,000. Plus, HMO conversions are going to cost you a lot more most of the time, especially if you want them to stand out from the rest of the crowd. Now, the returns will obviously vary depending on how many rooms you got and the size and whether it's ensuite, for example. But if this is something you're serious about, I could do a video on this in the future, where I can drop some knowledge bombs over on the Instagram page if you're interested. Next up, we have flips. Now this is actually one of the most common ones that I hear a lot of budding investors talk about. And if you really want to get into the semantics of it, technically it's property trading, not investing, but hey, call it what you want. But I do understand the excitement with flips, especially with Homes Under the Hammer always showing us their best case scenarios. But with this, you're going to need to buy with cash or a bridge. 99% of the time. And depending on the NGDV and or your experience, you may actually get away with only needing to put down a certain amount of deposit for a rundown house, for example. And a bridging company may then lend you accordingly, depending on the project itself, maybe even the refurb costs as well to get it ready to flip on. Again though, one thing I will say with bridging companies is they all have different exits, different ways of charging interest and different ways of lending too. Some will give you 90%, some will give you 75%, and some may even give you less. So it really depends on the deal, your experience and how much you're putting into that. However, let's just say for easy example, you buy something for 100k, it needs 10k and you can sell it for 150. From experience of my own bridges, you could actually get away with throwing down around £30,000 for a 100k purchase. Give or take around 10k for the fees, interest and all the professional fees. On top of that, you could potentially squeeze a renovation of around 10k to flip it on. Now I know there's a lot of ifs, buts and maybes with that totally made up example, but don't completely write off the notion of being able to flip houses with £50,000. And also on that, you may want to actually check this video out, which teaches you how to flip houses without actually buying them. So that will save you a lot of cash, and also more importantly, it'll save you a hell of a lot of time and make it £50,000 go further. And finally, the BRRRR method, or the BRRR method. I think I said that right. Now this is probably one of my favorite methods. Why am I saying that? This is probably one of my favorite methods as I talk about it a lot. But again, utilizing leverage, you can pick up houses on a bridge using that 50k as a deposit for lenders to buy rundown properties to then refinance them on the back end. Now using a similar principle to flips and also having that as a worst case second exit in case your circumstances change and you've got to get rid of it, then 50k in my opinion is a nice amount of money to get yourself going and doing the BRRR model. And also I'll show you a quick example. So for my BRRR model here that I've talked about a lot, I use around £45,000. I use a bridge with Together Finance, and I actually tried selling this, funnily enough, before deciding to keep it on my portfolio. That's a story for another day. So I know from experience it's possible, and that's one of the things I always try to share with you guys. I'm not just making up random stuff, I'm actually speaking from experience. So I really do hope you guys can get out there and try and find these type of deals. And that, my good friends, is pretty much that. But before I end, as I promised earlier in the video, to anyone who's made it this far, firstly, you're a legend. And secondly, you're probably gonna want to subscribe if you're new to the channel, because I have a great video coming out in the next few weeks elaborating more on this, especially if you find it interesting. But you could, providing that you pass all the affordability checks and you don't have a residential home right now, use a residential mortgage to do what I'm about to tell you. And in case you think I'm making this up, I actually have friends and family who are literally doing this. What they're essentially doing is buying a residential home that needs a little bit of work or either below market value or one where value can be added, and they choose to live there. And then what they do is while they're living there, they do it up, and 6, 12, 18 months down the line, they end up selling it, making a profit in the process and then choosing another project. Now obviously you have to have a certain personality type for this, but if you're happy moving around a lot and like the idea of renovating homes and making a bit of money on the way, plus you also benefit from not paying capital gains tax as it's your residential home, then this could be for you. And it's a great way to kind of fund your living. Now personally, I don't think I could do this all the time, but it is something I may actually do once the dust settles with the property market. Well, if it ever does. And to be honest, this is more just kind of like a passion project that I might try, but maybe you guys can try it too, especially if you're looking for your first type of property and you have £50,000 to spend. Now, if you made it this far, firstly, you're just an awesome person and I appreciate you. And secondly, I hope you've smashed that like button as well. What I'm going to do now is pretty much end this video because it's a pretty long one and I'm going to leave it there. Otherwise, I'll be here talking forever. But I hope you guys have an awesome day and I look forward to seeing you all. Well, actually, you won't be seeing me. But anyways, hopefully seeing you all maybe in the comments in a few days when I drop my next video. And now for the bloopers. Have an awesome day, guys. Now, even if you pretty much but please do check the rates, etc. But